Good morning, you guys. I'm such an amateur at this. and, and since I haven't been doing it regularly, I forget what I'm supposed to do each time. I don't know whether any of you have that issue, but that's what's happening to me this morning. So, anyway, I just finished this journal, and um, this image, as some of you know, I see an image and I do the cover first with the idea, and then I start going through all my stash of images and things I remember that I have images of, etc. And I start sort of putting together an idea. It's not really a theme, but this one, as I was doing this with Amazon packing and creepy cloth. Whoops, excuse me. I coffee dye the creepy cloth, the laces, that's just what, good night of mercy. That's just what I do. It's so fat that you can't see it if I don't hold it down, so my finger keeps slipping off. Hopefully this will go a little better here. But one of our daughters had said, she looks like it needs to be named Ophelia, just seeing the cover. Well, I decided to name it Ophelia from the attic. And I don't know whether you guys have, but I'm 80 years old, and my grandma had an upstairs and a stairway underneath that, just a cubby underneath that, where all my aunts and uncles and my mom's old games, and just, oh my gosh, I loved crawling around in there and finding things from their childhood. And I thought how neat it would be to find something like this that this little girl, Ophelia, had made as like a scrapbook in her life, and it had been left behind in the attic. So that's where I got the name. That's what my thought was when I started this. So she's all coffee dyed, and she's bigger than my normal sugar britches. She's I think she's 5 by 7, a little bigger than 5 by 7 with all the lace. She might be 6 by 8. But I've used several different images from Sweet Pea Curiosities and Art House Whimsy. But I made a pocket from one of those images, and I did the inside papers. They're collaged to look like I've layered all of it. But I made a card out of a piece of Amazon packing paper, put a cover on it. That's the title card, and I will put the title of the year and everything on that. Haven't done that yet. Here's another image, and so I thought I'm gonna make this like she made this scrapbook, and she said old home place, and this image was like that. And then all of my coffee dyed tissue paper and trims, etc. I found this original sterling silver tiny buffalo Indian head. I don't know whether that's, I don't know. But anyway, it's sterling silver, and it had a tab on the back so it would be raised up. So I pushed that through the page, glued it, and then proceeded to put this lace so that would be covered. And this is loose right here, but that doesn't really matter. Then I found this image, and I titled it Lottie and Earl at the beach. How cute. And I'm assuming those were friends of hers. And then I had a mistake of a glassine bag. When I coffee dyed it, the back stuck to the front. So in trying to get it apart, I tore it and thought, well, that's what it would look like if it was in the attic. So I put another image of possibly her family down in that bag, cut off the top, added some just little odds and ends that she might have found in her grandmother's button box. And I've told you, but there's a little tiny clothespin. I have a group of those. I'm not sure where I got them. And my rusty nails that my husband and I found outside of an old abandoned construction site. And so then I put a strip of muslin and buttons. And this one too is a note card. So what I did, or what it looks like I've done, is break the little, no, I didn't break it, but made a card, and I made a grocery list on it, like she might have found in her grandmother's things. My grandma always had grocery lists written on everything, just like I do, and then I leave the grocery list at home. So then I have to make 2 trips. But, and this little, I named them Sally and Sue. Maybe they lived down the lane. I don't know, but they were important to her. I found an old piece of sheet music and thought, yeah, this is something. She would have found these bits and baubles and glued them on to make her own scrapbook, memory book. This one I put Nanny and her mama. And you just let your imagination go with this. I actually am thinking of making a series of these. I've got some images that are screaming at me to do something like that with. This one I wrote, tried to write in more of a childish scribble. My great-great-grandmama and mama gathering wood kindling for the wood cook stove. That's what we would have called it, kindling wood. And it would have been for the cook stove. And so here they are, and they've been out gathering, kindling, and I took some fine sticks out of the yard last fall and broke them into little pieces, and have had fun finding that Ziploc bag full of treasures. And here is, I just wrote the sisters, whether they went to the same church or whether they lived down the road, whatever. But here's a couple of little hearts that I'm not sure. They're raised. They're like metal. So I put those on there. And here's some of that toile. Is that how you say it? This is a tissue paper that I coffee dyed, and I touched it with ink. And so I used a piece of it up here, and I like to glue and then crunch it so it's real texturized. And this one is Old Sugar Hill Church. That's what I named it. It was just a great image of an old vacant church building. And then I took twine, and I don't know whether you can see this, but it's okay. Whether you can see it, but this is, I knotted it and put it around. And this is the cardboard. I like to take the cardboard apart of a cardboard box. It's got, different layers. Then I tore it until I had a thin layer of this for a frame for the image. Found a piece that said memories and stuck that on it. So each one had its own story, and when I found this image, it made me think of being all dressed up for the church social in their Sunday best. And I put the year 1919 simply because that was the year my dad was born, and I'd seen other pictures of some of my family and the clothing from that late 1800s, early 1900s that I've used in my stuff, in my creations, in my journals before. Some of you might remember. But, and then I do this frequently. I like to, While I'm taking a phone call, I might sit at my workbench and just pick up my scraps and my little tiny pieces of, I mean literally every little tiny scrap. And I just start laying down some glue, crunching up some cheesecloth, layering a scrap piece of ribbon, piece of cardboard, a piece of ephemera, scraps of thread, scraps of what I bind my books with, and so I made the whole edge of the page with my scraps. I love this picture. I took my watercolor colored pencils and colored the bouquet, and I put me and Willie. Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you, which is a poem that we wrote in everything. We had little autograph books when I was young. You take them to school, everybody would write a funny little thing like that. And we would collect things like that. I did. So, and you can see in the image, this picture was strung on a piece of wood, it looks like. So, and here's another one of my little clothespins and some crunched up sari silk and buttons, which I can never have enough of. And this is an image, I almost think Kay Comer had this on one of her morning stories or something. I'm not sure where I got it. But I looked at that picture and thought, so I wrote the old handmade wooden ladder, and instead of DDER, I have TTER because she would have possibly spelled it that way, leading to the attic where I found this handmade book. Then I added my own pieces of memories. So that's what that picture said to me, and I thought it was an appropriate place to put that kind of a memory. And this is a piece of an old 1800s quilt that my daughter, who does a lot of repurposing of blue jeans and jackets and making wonderful clothing, well, this was a piece that she had given me that reminded me, because it's got the original cotton batting with the seeds in the batting, and these colors, we knew that turkey red, these old 1800s colors. And I wrote down this way to make it look more scrapbook, the only piece of the old cotton batting quilt that all of us slept under on the day bed. That's what my grandma always called that extra bed in the house. The day bed behind the wood stove made by my great-great-grandmama in the 1800s. So she had this torn piece, is the imaginary story that she kept, and this was the memory that went with that piece of old quilt. This image I'd held on to for a long time. And I have Daddy, Mama, and us kids. Now, could be outside their home, outside of an abandoned home, I don't know. And these are just some images, these Valentine, great pieces of ephemera from Marissa at Sweet Pea Curiosities. This is a trim that I coffee dyed. It's sort of heavy, but it's just so 1800s looking. And this image of this little girl, look how proud she was. I put the old scooter car Daddy made us from junkyard scraps. We had to take turns and share with the neighborhood kids. And down here I put a note, which my dad might have said, they better take care of our scooter too, Daddy said. Because he spent a lot of time making that, her daddy. And this little girl is just adorable. You can't see in the picture, but I had written, Mama said, one day You can own the general store and have all the candy you can eat. I tried. She tried to own the general store. Anyway, at that time, she was pretty sure she was going to. And this image of this little boy, so proud, it said, Daddy always wanted to be a soldier, but he never was. My daddy was, but this little girl's daddy wasn't at that time. And this I looked at and thought, this little boy probably lived down the road. And from these two little boys, who I'm pretending are her brothers. And I coffee dyed some scraps. I'm not sure I'll pick up any scrap and coffee dye it. Danny was always so kind to my little brothers, and I loved him for that. These pieces, a lot of times I take doilies and use sections. There's empty pages where you can add more memories to keep this alive. And then here's an old paper doily, these yo-yo quilt. I have some that were my grandmother's and great-grandmother's, but I don't use them. These are ones that actually I think I got them at Hobby Lobby, and then I aged them. And this picture I had used in a real primitive journal in the beginning of my journal making. My hands have always been lighter than Daddy's and smoother. See these little child hands holding on to the thumbs of big, strong father's hands. And it says, and I thought about it for a while, and I put, he wasn't scared of nothing either, which I think is what she might have said. And these are pieces of a great textured rag I found, and glued that trim on there. And then these pictures are, put a pocket here in the back like I do, front and back. But this is one of my favorite images off the internet that I have used a lot. It says, I have so much of you in my heart. And it's a quote by John Keats. And this has pertained to so many different journals that I have made. It's just a great quote. I love it. And here's the back. And Carla, let's see, one of my friends took this picture of a pair of Carla Renee Wolf, I think is her name. All of a sudden I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry, Carla. And she had taken a photograph of these old baby shoes for me. And I decided to use that on the back on this piece of cardboard. This is my hallmark. This is a piece of a crocheted doily. And then I just added this. And my stitches are just twine. They're number 5. Pearl cotton is what I've used on this. And pulled the creepy cloth apart to make a mesh spine to stabilize the spine. But in this I've left just sticking there, made like a little group, and the tissue hangs down loose. But anyway, here she is, and I really think I might have to keep her for a while. I do, like I said, I'm working on another one, thinking of making a series of these pieces that could have been found in a attic. But I only ship in the United States, and if you would be interested in her, you can private message me. Right now, I think she's going to stay with me for a little while, but if you want me to remember your name, if I decide to part with her. But anyway, it was just a fun idea, great fun project, and I hope you enjoyed Simple little flip through. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.